The silence in the Arctic isn't like silence anywhere else. It's not empty, it's heavy. It presses in. I learned that during my 3-month contract, monitoring seismic activity and permafrost thaw sensors on Ellesmere Island. Just me, a network of automated stations scattered across miles of rock and glacier, and a snowmobile to get between them. The isolation was the point. Pristine data, minimal interference. For the first month, the stark beauty of it, the low sun painting the ice fields in impossible colors, the vast windswept emptiness, was reward enough. Then the landscape started feeling watched. It began near Station Delta, perched on a ridge overlooking a frozen fjord. I found the first one etched into the surface of a wind-scored blue ice patch. Not a natural fracture line. This was a pattern, a complex lattice of impossibly sharp angles and straight lines, like a geometric diagram carved with meticulous precision. It looked delicate, almost crystalline, but deeply unnatural against the random beauty of the ice. Frost, I told myself. Weird wind erosion. But I'd seen countless frost patterns. None looked like this. None felt intentional. Over the next few weeks, I found more. Sometimes etched in ice, sometimes constructed. Small, dark pebbles gathered from rare snow-free patches, stacked into miniature, angular cairns on the vast white expanse. Always precise, always geometric, always radiating a quiet wrongness. They appeared near the sensor stations, slightly off my usual routes. I logged the coordinates, took pictures that never captured the disturbing clarity of the structure, and tried to rationalize them. Maybe a previous researcher with too much time, but the precision felt inhuman. Then came the periods of absolute stillness. Usually there's always some sound, the hiss of wind, the distant groan of a glacier, the crunch of your own boots. But sometimes, particularly near the markers, everything would just stop. A flat, dead vacuum of sound that felt deeper and more unnerving than the usual Arctic silence. My radio transmissions would crackle with static in these zones, and the air would carry a faint, sharp scent, metallic like ozone, cutting through the clean cold. The clicking started soon after. I'd hear it carried on the wind when servicing a sensor, or sometimes, disturbingly, seemingly coming from beneath the snow crust when I stopped the snowmobile. A faint, rhythmic tick-chick-tick, like tiny shards of ice tapping together, but with an underlying damp quality that made no sense in the sub-zero temperatures. I'd scan the horizon, nothing but snow, rock, and ice stretched to infinity. I blamed the cold, the isolation, the endless white playing tricks on my senses. My sleep in the small, heated research hut became fragmented. The encounter happened during a routine check on Station Gamma, near the terminus of a vast ancient glacier. A sudden whiteout roared in, typical for the region. Visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet in seconds. Blinding snow, howling wind. Standard procedure is to shelter in place. I huddled behind a large rock outcrop near the sensor mast, pulling my thermal hood tighter, waiting for the worst to pass. The wind shrieked, but beneath it, the clicking grew louder. Tick, chick, tick. Closer. Not random ice noises. This was rhythmic, deliberate. The ozone smell was suddenly strong, stinging my nostrils even through my face covering. Through the swirling wall of white, I saw movement. Something pale, almost translucent, emerged from the blizzard's chaos, maybe 20 feet away. It looked like a shard of fractured ice, impossibly thin and long, perhaps 5 feet, segmented at sharp, unnatural angles. acute, obtuse, geometrically wrong for anything biological. It moved with a jerky stop-motion gait, each segment seeming to snap rigidly into place rather than bend. It wasn't white like snow, but clearer, like old glacial ice catching the diffused light wetly despite the freezing air. There was no body, no head, just this limb, or maybe it was the whole entity. It tapped the icy rock beside me with its pointed tip. Tick-chick. The sound was sharp, distinct even over the wind. It didn't seem to see me, or maybe it didn't care. Its presence felt utterly alien, ancient and indifferent, like a mathematical equation manifesting in the physical world. The sheer geometric impossibility of its form, its movement, felt like sandpaper on my mind. Panic, cold and absolute, seized me. My breath hitched. The limb paused, angled slightly in my direction. Did it sense my fear? My presence? I don't know how long I stayed frozen there, watching that fractured piece of geometry probe the storm. Then, as abruptly as it appeared, it retracted back into the swirling snow. The clicking faded, swallowed by the wind. The moment it vanished, I scrambled. The whiteout was still fierce, but I didn't care. I clawed my way back to the snowmobile, fumbling with the ignition with numb fingers. I abandoned the sensor check, gunned the engine, and navigated purely by GPS and blind instinct back towards my main hut, hours away. Every gust of wind, every shadow in the white chaos seemed to hold the threat of those imposing angles. I reached the hut, locked the door, and didn't leave it for 2 days, radioing the main research base with fabricated stories of equipment failure and impassable weather. As soon as a supply plane could land on the designated ice strip, I was on it. I terminated my contract early, citing the extreme psychological stress of the isolation and weather conditions. They accepted it. People break out here sometimes. I'm back south now, surrounded by city noise and people, but the Arctic silence haunts me. In the quiet moments, I still hear that wet clicking. When I see frost patterns on a window, my breath catches. I survived, yes, but I know something resides in that vast, frozen emptiness, something ancient and cold and geometrically wrong, something that moves between the snowflakes and leaves markers of impassable angles on the ice. And I know I will never, ever go back.